Good morning, one and all. Before I get to today's subject at hand, which you'll have seen is in the title of the video, obviously, and it's a little bit of a feisty subject, let's say. I'd just like to point you all in the direction of tonight's video over on the main channel. Myself and Geo, in conjunction with 5 Yards, we're going to need you to help us spend 65 million. Not a real 65 million, a virtual 65 million on the team to improve West Ham. You probably saw myself and Gio do the video initially. Now's your turn. It's going to be live and we're going to be taking all of your suggestions and we're going to try and spend that money, build a team and have a little bit of a laugh at the same time. Right, European breakaway. Now, we've discussed this before and I'm not surprised to see it come back again. I'm sure you'll all know lots and lots about it by now. As ever, I'm recording this the night before. However, I've got quite entrenched views on this because it's something I've spoken about for a couple of years and there's really nothing new to digest in here. The only thing that probably makes this a little bit of different is it does appear that they have the fund in there of £6 billion from JP Morgan. When I say they, the clubs involved in the European Super League. And I'm just for argument's sake, I will assume that not everybody knows, and I'll just go and explain a little bit. They've got £6 billion there in which to make a European breakaway Super League, and there appears to have been a letter of intent signed. Now, I am not a legal man in any way, shape or form. I don't really know what a letter of intent means, aside from it's probably a bit of paper with an intention to do something. I'm guessing, reading between the ruled lines, put it that way. Okay, Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, who am I forgetting? Manchester City and Tottenham. 6 English teams breaking away. Now, they would be joining, as far as we know thus far, Juventus, Barcelona and Real Madrid. Bayern Munich have said they want to play no part in it, which I think is really, really good. And you need the weight of a club like that to sort of do it. And it gives them... I think it gives them a lot of kudos and a lot of respect, and they can take the moral high ground on this now. As I understand it, no German teams and no French teams would be involved. Now, that's really interesting, the French teams, because realistically, probably none would be involved apart from PSG. But PSG will be very much viewed as new money anyway, so I would imagine they possibly weren't invited, which is why... They're probably saying, well, we're not involved, we don't want to be involved anyway. And let's be fair, the last thing PSG need is money. What is interesting, though, is the way that the associations, and I mean FIFA, the FA, UEFA, the Premier League, the Spanish federations, the Liga, have all come out and condemned it. There's been a joint statement from most of them, and they have been unequivocal in their damnation of it, and in particular that it's not allowed and it's not permitted. And it seems to be that if a club breaks away and goes into this this European Super League, which would be a midweek league, the way the clubs wanted it was that they would still participate in the Premier League, but then they would go and not play in the Champions League, then they would go and play in this European Super League. But actually UEFA, FIFA, the home associations and the Premier League have all said, no, you're not going to do that. So I think they're going to actually have to leave the Premier League. Now, I've got mixed feelings on this, so let's look at it in both ways. Firstly, let's imagine they stay in the Premier League. Well, you're looking at clubs who are... The wonderful thing about the Premier League is there's a certain degree of pay parity. There's a certain amount of profit sharing. That's it. The Premier League, they have 20 members who are the current 20 member participants in the Premier League. They share the money between them. Yes, it's ratcheted slightly, so if you finish top, you get a bit more. And if you have more games on telly, you get a bit more. But by and large, even somebody crap, right? So Sheffield United, apologies. Sheffield United have just been relegated, right? They still, for this season, sort of get under 120 million, right? It's a lot of money. That's what they get. And it's not vastly different for what you get for being up the top. Clearly, you make your own money through sponsorship deals and stuff like that. But certainly, it means that every club in the Premier League can afford to have some internationals on the books. Every club in the Premier League can afford to pay someone 50, 60 grand a week or whatever. That's not the case in a lot of these other leagues. A lot of the Spanish league, certainly the French league, lower down the French league, a lot of these clubs are absolutely skint. So they, whilst Bayern Munich and the big boys and Borussia Dortmund can pay somebody 100 grand a week, 200 grand a week, 300 grand a week, the clubs at the bottom are paying people £10,000 a week and stuff like that, 15 grand a week. And there are far more of those than there are small clubs in England. And also the other thing with England is you have a pyramid. You have a pyramid system. So put COVID aside for a second, we have been able to support 92 professional clubs at least for quite a long time. I think the Championship is something like the third or fourth best supported league in Europe. More people watch the Championships than watch. I don't know which the French league is. I was going to say Ligue 1, but it's probably not particularly inventive of me. Although my French is, of course, excellent. Now, what that does is, do you really want a club then in the Premier League who are getting all this money, all these riches, who are going to be basically the top clubs in the Premier League will be earning 300-400 million more than anyone else in the league? They're just going to run away with it each season. It's not competitive. And the other thing that's not competitive is all of these founder members of this league, this European breakaway league. They can't be relegated. They're in it for good. So competition goes from there straight away. If you look at it the other way, so that's obviously what happens if the clubs remain in the Premier League. If the clubs go from the Premier League, and it does seem the Premier League will kick them out. Not only will the Premier League kick them out, the FA have said if you sign up for this, you go and play in this league, you ain't playing for England. Now there's similarities there. I'll get to that in just a second. But if these clubs do depart the Premier League, then the Premier League is weakened as a competition. We know from doing Hammers Chat, all the biggest views we get are when West Ham play Man United and so on and so forth from Liverpool. That's because they are a big attraction. That's why they want them in this European Super League. But take that away and there's less attraction in the Premier League. Now, I've mixed feelings about this because I think they've thrown so many tantrums over such a long period of time, and I think their sporting ethics have been brought into question here. Clothes shops, no relegation, them wanting more money than anyone else, they can buy all the best players. It's not sporting, it's just not. So there's part of me that thinks, you know what, go. A Premier League in which West Ham and Leicester and Everton and Wolves and Leeds and a lot of big clubs around, by the way, and it would allow a lot of those bigger clubs like Sheffield Wednesday and a lot of the ones that are down low to come up and thrive, to actually think, well, actually, maybe everyone just gets 100 million a year and we go at it. Let it be the best coach, the best manager, the best, But it's not what we have now. Is almost a Formula One version. He who hath the best car. I don't know why I went all ye oldie schooly there. Whoever has the best car wins, really. I'm not saying that these guys, sorry, one of my lights went out there. I'm not saying that one of these guys, that the guys can't drive, but you know what I mean. It's not competitive, and this is not competitive every second. Right, okay, let's just go back to this this thing about representing your country. If you follow rugby union, that is, you can only represent the England team if you play in the I don't know what it is. I think it might be the Gallagher Premiership. I don't know what it is. They might have changed sponsor this year. I don't know. But the Premiership, basically the Premier League of rugby union, you can only represent England if you play in that, unless there's some, I don't know, some mitigating circumstances. There's a little loophole, but there ain't much one. I haven't really seen it been used. So I'll give you an example. There was a really, really good player, a guy called Stefan Armitage, who was the best player in his position in Europe, certainly. And he was English, and he'd represented England before, but he went over to play in France, so he wasn't selected. There's another really good rugby player called Danny Cipriani. You've probably heard of him. The reason Danny Cipriani is the most gifted rugby player in the country, he's won Player of the Year 2 years ago. He just doesn't. He's a bit of a maverick, right? He's a bit of a maverick. So he don't really get selected for England, but he keeps on re-signing for English clubs just in the hope that the England coach gets sacked and gets back in the team. He doesn't want to put himself in a situation where he can't get selected for England. Sorry, I'm rambling. How's that going to play out with these players? Are they really going to want to not play in the Premier League? Are they really going to say, this is fine, we won't play international football? Because that's what they're threatening. And this has massive impact for all of football. It really does. It's, I don't even know why I'm smiling. It's disgusting. It really is. I look at it And I look at it from the fans' point of view. Now, it is important to say at this point that the fan groups of Liverpool and the 6 clubs I mentioned have all come out and made a joint statement and said they're extremely concerned about this. And so they should be, because it's easy to think that every fan wants to have all the best players, and I guess to a certain extent you do, but not at the expense of being a fan. And that's what this would be. Because, okay, I guess if there's 6 Premier League, 6 English clubs in there, then you're going to have 5 games at least. I guess they play each other twice, 5 games at least that you can go to in this country. But by and large, by the time they filled up the 20 places, that's a very, very well-off fan that can go and visit Barcelona, then visit Madrid, then visit Turin, then visit Milan, and whoever the other clubs may be in that. It really does stop it. And also, you have the whole banter, don't you? You have the whole banter thing of your local rivals and getting one up. You know what it's like. You go into work and you've beaten a team and you know somebody at work that supports that team. I mean, it's not quite the same, is it? Let's be perfectly honest with you. You beat Barcelona and who's there to really talk with? It just becomes less of a sport and more of a television programme, really. And I understand football has become that anyway. I know it's largely television-based these days. But this is not good for the match-going fan at all. And I listened to Gary Neville's rant earlier, and it was a good rant, really good rant. And what I really had to agree with, and when he started saying that the owners of these clubs, he was particularly vociferous in his condemnation of Man United and Liverpool. And what he said was, you don't ever hear from these owners. These are not owners that care about 100+ years of the football pyramid and the tradition of football. They didn't grow up supporting Man U. They didn't grow up supporting Liverpool. They're foreign investors. They have invested in what they consider to be sports franchises to make money. Well, of course, this is just another opportunity to make money. They don't care about the Supporters Association. They don't care about the history of the club. They don't care that Gary Neville was saying that Manchester United was founded on a working men's club. Our own club, the Thames Iron Works. You know, this is what football was based on. So many of these were based on the local community. And it seems like they are being sold. They're not being sold down the river. No. I think it's the rest of us that will get sold down the river. It's them that are selling their soul. For a piece of gold. It really is cynical. Now, I don't know whether this will happen or not. Today, it may have even happened by the time you watch this. The Champions League are announcing their revised edition of the Champions League, let's say. And that's very much being done to try and accommodate these bigger clubs, to try and appease them. It's already, the group stage was all about that. It was all about making sure you have enough games so the cream rises to the top. That was what the group stage was all about. There was even a point in the Champions League, you may remember, they had 2 group stages because a couple of the big clubs got knocked out. Make no mistake about it, West Ham being in the top 4, Leicester winning the title, Leicester being in the top 4, things like that are not what they want. I've no doubt, actually, that this season has sped up the process of them discussing this, and it is serious because there's serious financial backing there. And it is not without precedent, not just because of the rugby union I mentioned before in the World Series of cricket, Kerry Packer's World Series, where cricket had a breakaway. Went from 5-day cricket, a red ball cricket as they call it, when they wear the whites and all the rest of it, and they switched it to white ball cricket, and they all had white balls and had coloured kits, bright blues and bright reds with their names on the back and all the rest of it. And it's really, when you see one-day cricket, and particularly 2020 now, it really is the evolution of that. But a lot of them broke away, and the ICC banned any players from international cricket. So you couldn't, I think Mike Gattin might have been one. You couldn't play international cricket. So this is the same sort of thing. There's going to be heavy penalties certainly for the players. I noticed Gary Neville saying penalise the clubs, punish the clubs. I'm really interested to see if they can do this. Look, personally, do I want to qualify for the Champions League? Yes. Do I want to qualify for the Champions League because all the teams above, aside from Leicester, I guess, have been punished? No, not really. I'd just rather do you know what? We've had a fair crack at the whip, I feel, this season. If West Ham finish in the top 4, it'll be because we deserve to. If we miss out, it'll be because we deserve to, and we got some things wrong, you know, like on Saturday, I guess. But I'd rather everybody remain in the Premier League. I really would. But you have to draw a line on this, and you have to say, if they're going to keep pushing, if what they're going to do is almost wreck football, and I don't just mean the Premier League, I mean all domestic leagues, I mean European football, I mean even the international football. If they're going to do that, devalue domestic leagues, devalue the World Cup, devalue all of this stuff just so as they can get richer and leave competitions, which by and large are already stacked in their favour anyway, like La Liga. There's not an equal distribution of TV money in La Liga. I think you'll find Barcelona and Real Madrid get the vast majority of it. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the figures, but I'm pretty sure those two clubs get something like 60%. Now, they will argue that they should, that they're the big draw. And I think there's a risk in thinking that the reason people watch you is because you're the big draw, because you're the big club, because you've got the Real Madrid badge or whatever it may be. Because I think what you're doing at that point is forgetting sport at its most basic level, which is people tune in to whatever it may be it a round of golf, be it a football match, be it a boxing bout, whatever it may be. The real enjoyment of sport is not knowing who's going to win. The real enjoyment of watching a 100 metres race is not knowing who's going to win. Yes, look, you might have your favourite, and there is a partisan aspect. There really is. But I mean, once you start forgetting the fundamentals of sport, which is it's meant to be a competition with an undetermined result, and you start replacing that with something that is so fixed that you literally can't lose, then it's not really sport at all.